Memory. Memory merges the past into the present, and the present, when examined minutely, disappears altogether. Thus, time is really destroyed, and you are brought near reality. So memory helps you to a certain extent to approach reality, though memory itself is part of the unreality. But what is memory at the mind level? At the mind's level, we have to take it that the witness silently witnesses the events and subsequently transmits the information to the mind. The mind, in its turn, identifies itself with the witness for the time being and poses as if it were present during the past act referred to. But when the mind is engaged in a thought, it is never possible for it to witness this very thought simultaneously. But can I remember? No. But speaking loosely, we say that we remember past incidents. To remember something exactly as it was perceived, the time which has passed and the past sense perceptions must occur once again in the present here. But they are past and gone. Of all that was then and there, consciousness alone is here and now. Therefore, memory as ordinarily understood is a misnomer. What is it that you remember? If you remember anything, the thing remembered must be changeless, at least between the two incidents. All changes occur in time and space, so the thing remembered, being changeless, must be beyond time and space. This means it is eternal and infinite. Only the ultimate is such. So really, you remember only the ultimate. You can understand memory only if you withdraw into your own being. Yet, how does memory function? Memory is an undeniable experience to the ordinary man. Unless there is a permanent principle equally connected with the past, present, and future, the functions of memory, recognition, and hope are impossible. So memory helps us to prove the existence of such a permanent principle behind our mental activities. Therefore, let us discuss memory here, conceding the existence of the world, gross as well as subtle. Memory functions by way of remembering past thoughts, activities, and events. It is clearly a function of the mind. To justify its reality, it must satisfy two conditions. It must first be proved to have been present at the time of the thought referred to, and must have known or witnessed it. And secondly, it must also be present at the time of the act of remembrance. That memory is present when it appears is admitted. Memory, which is itself a thought form, cannot exist along with another thought, since you can never have two thoughts simultaneously. Therefore, memory by itself cannot recall a past thought. A thought can be recalled only by that principle which perceived it at the time of its occurrence. Therefore, the I principle, consciousness alone, can recall a thought at any point of time. That principle, because it always knows the mental activities, is the changeless witness. It can never cease to be a witness at any time. Recalling a past thought is a function different from the act of witnessing. That activity can never be attributed to the I principle consciousness. And then the question arises, how is a past thought remembered? Well, there is a usurper in the picture. Just as he usurps the existence aspect, consciousness aspect, and happiness aspect of the real I principle consciousness, and claims them to himself and his own activities in the relative sphere, and so also claims the witnessing function to be his. But this usurper, he does not say, I think, I feel, I perceive, I do. And along with these functions, does he not also say, I know? The usurper is the ego. Because of the identification of the real I principle with the body, senses, and mind, he can very well play the role of the real I principle in his daily activities. Further, the ego itself is a compound of consciousness and body, gross or subtle. That makes it possible for the ego to steal the characteristics of the real I principle consciousness, at least to some extent. Thus, the ego remembers a past thought, and when he so remembers, the real I principle stands behind, witnessing that mentation of memory also. It seems you say relative knowledge is memory alone. How is it? When do you really know? You say you know a thing only when you are able to remember it. If not, you say you do not know. Knowing has no connection with the object. It is pure knowledge alone. So memory plays a very important part in making you believe what you are not. But how can remembrance be forgetting? Every thought merges into consciousness and remains not as thought, but as consciousness, pure. So you're searching in that consciousness for the resurrection of any thought that is merged therein is in vain. It can only result in your first forgetting your real nature as pure consciousness, and in the subsequent creation of an entirely new thought, as though experienced some time earlier. How does remembrance function? How do you try to remember a pleasurable sensation that you have had? You think of all the details, like the place and circumstances which you suppose were connected with it. till the mind comes to a climax preceding the enjoyment sought. And just then, all the antecedent thoughts vanish, and you are thrown into that pleasurable sensation again. In a similar way, with regard to repeating the experience of truth that you once had, you have to begin likewise recounting the place and circumstances and such things, till at last all your thoughts vanish and you are thrown into that same experience again. Don't desire the expression, but direct your attention always to that which is expressed. Expressions ultimately die in order that the expressed may be there as the absolute.